this video, we're going to walk you through everything you need to know about the pipeline. This is your central hub where you manage all your mortgage files from start to finish. You'll learn how to navigate the toolbar, customize and add pipeline stages, move files through the client journey by dragging and dropping them, use the active, completed, and archive tabs, and keep your workspace organized and clean. We'll also cover how to set up the stage update videos so you can automatically notify clients as their file progresses. You'll also know how to use the mass actions as well as linking your FINMO and Velocity to pull files through. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so here is what your mortgage pipeline looks like. You'll notice that there's a bunch of different stages, and disregard the title of each stage. You're going to have a set of default stages which you can adjust by going into your settings, clicking the settings button in the bottom left corner, clicking on pipelines, and then this pipeline stages section is where you can add more stages by clicking this add button, creating a name, an internal description if you want, giving it a color, as well as hiding it from the client portal, as there isn't a spot in the portal for the client to see what stage in the process they're at. So if it's something like a compliance stage where you don't necessarily want the client to see that, you can hide it from the portal there. You can also hide it from specific users if you have, say, some certain staff that are only responsible for files when they're at a certain stage in the process. You can then hide the stages that they're not responsible for, therefore they only see the things that they need to work on. So that's how you would add a stage, and then you can just reorganize them by dragging them around. It is very important that one stage has this star button. If you don't have a stage with a default setting, which is the star, then your files aren't going to actually appear in the pipeline. The default stage essentially means when a file is created, whether that's through Velocity or FINMO or directly in the system, that's the stage that it's going to start in. So if we go back over to the pipeline on the sidebar, the pipeline itself is designed a little bit different than some other platforms. Now you're simply going to drag your mortgage files from stage to stage. These will not get updated automatically based on Velocity or FINMO because those stages are going to be completely different than the stages you've outlined here. This is your actual client journey completely broken down. So an example, I have application received, document request sent, introduction made when my assistant contacts that client, ready for review, meaning my assistant's going to review that file today, pre-approved means we sent that pre-approval out to the client, pre-approved discuss, we actually hop on a call to discuss it with the client, rate hold, prepare to submit a lender, and so on all the way through. You want to break down your process as much as you possibly can, and you do that by going into the settings and adding the correct stages. This is something that you're really going to want to think through because this is how your whole client journey is going to be mapped out. Now, with the pipeline stage, you have your mortgage files that get automatically created when someone fills out a Velocity application or a FINMO application, as long as you have those platforms connected. And to learn how to connect them, there's going to be a separate video. Make sure to find that video, how to connect FINMO or how to connect Velocity, to get that all set up. Now, once the file is created, you can click into the file. However, we're not going to do that in this video. We're going to have different videos outlining each individual tab within a file. I just want to explain the pipeline itself. When you want to move it to the next stage, you're simply going to drag and drop it to the next stage. Now, there are actually custom milestones that are built into the pipeline, meaning if you want to send your client a video just explaining what this next step in the process is, we actually have that built right in. Now, I did have it disabled for this stage, but I have one for ready to review. Now, if I drop it in here, it's going to have a pop-up that says notify client of status change, and I have my full outline of what it means when it's in this stage, plus I even attached a video to do so. Now, if you want to set those up, just go to settings in the bottom right corner, which Loom is blocking a little bit. There we go. And then you're going to click on pipelines again. And then there's a section that says stage update videos, which would be, oh, actually, my bad, in here, stage update videos. So the stage updates video is where you're going to configure what message and what video that you want displayed to the client when you move it throughout the process. So as you can see, the configure videos by stage will outline all the stages that you have in your pipeline. And from there, you can click the drop down, add the message, and add your video URL if you have a video. And that way, once you click save, If you move it to that stage, it'll ask if you want to notify that client. Now, there's a couple other settings, such as use the admin videos only. So if you're a team lead and you have a bunch of team members under you, you can have it so it doesn't matter whose file it is. It's always going to use kind of your video updates. Maybe you have some animated videos, or maybe you just want your update sent. Or you can toggle it so every single person has their own update videos. For instance, say you have 3 brokers on the account, they can all have their own descriptions and videos, and it's going to essentially pop up and ask if you want to send whoever the owner of that file is their message and video. Or you can just disable it altogether. Now, going back to the pipeline stage, you'll notice that there's 3 different tabs up here: active, completed, and archived. We did this because we don't want you to have to move a file out of the stage that it's at to mark it as lost or parked or basically like ghosted. In that case, what you're going to do is instead you're just going to archive the file by clicking this trash can button. You can even give it a reason if you want to keep track on why you're archiving files. Say you're losing on rate or you lost to a competitor. And once you click archive, it's going to move it to the archive tab. What you'll notice though is it actually kept it in the same stage. And that's important because if this client ever comes back to you, for instance, say it's a pre-sale, then you can easily just recover that file by clicking this restore file button right here. So now going back to the active tab, you'll be right back in your active tab. This is good because that means you can keep your active tab just on the files you're actually working on. Just that alone is a huge increase in productivity. Now, when it comes to the completed tab, that's when your file is completely done. You've closed it, you've gotten paid for it, and you want to mark it as complete just so you can start tracking it for its renewal. You click the mark as complete button, and that's going to move it to the completed tab, which is a little bit different than the archive and active tab. It actually has a renewal tracker, which is basically timelines on months remaining till maturity. As you notice, this pop-up just appeared prior to it moving to that completed tab, and this is asking me if I want to update the contact address. This is very important if you ever plan to do like birthday gifts or anything in the future, because at the end of the day, if they were buying an owner-occupied property, their current address that you have on their application that Velocity has is not actually going to be their new address that they're living at. However, if it was a rental, maybe you'll choose to not update it. But this is just a way that seamlessly keeps all the addresses of all your property, of all your clients completely accurate, so that if you want to gift in the future, you're not going to run into any issues. So it'll automatically fetch the new subject property address. It'll show you what the old one is, and then you can either click update or skip. We're just going to skip. But going over to the completed tab, you'll notice these timelines along the top. Like I mentioned, it's not the same as the active or archive. This is now a renewal tracker. So this one did have 12 months remaining because I set the closing date back to 2022 and the maturity date 1 year ahead pretty much. So 3 to 12 months remaining, that's why it's showing there. And you don't actually move these files along. It will automatically move it along that timeline as it gets closer to maturity. Now, if it gets past maturity, it will go over to the expired column. Or if you pay it out early, say with a refinance, you can click it and then mark it as expired with one of the actions up top here. So what we're going to do is we're going to recover that file back to the active tab so I can show you a couple more things. So in the active tab, to create a new file, you click add new file. You can either pull it manually from Velocity or FINMO by clicking sync and then pasting a loan code, or you can create one manually in Broki, typing in a loan code, adding a contact, second contact, and so on. This is also where we have our client journey built out, where you can either use our application or Velocity's application, or even FINMO's if you have them both connected. But going back to the file, now remember, you're not going to have to do this very often because if you have your platform connected, they should automatically be coming through the webhook, meaning as soon as someone fills out an application, they get created automatically. But if you want to create them manually or pull them over manually, you can do it that way. Now, a couple of the buttons up top here, we got our filters button. When you click this, it's going to pop out a sidebar where you can then filter your different files based on like advisors, what stage it's at, mortgage amounts, all that kind of stuff. So that's easy to do there. The gear icon here is your settings. So this is what's going to determine what items are visible on this card. Now I have quite a few showing. I have closing dates, the financing, mortgage amount, lender, property, etc. But you can actually click this and you can add more to the card or remove some if you want. There's also a couple other toggles here, such as a 14-day inactive toggle or a 30-day inactive, which will make that card actually glow yellow or glow red if it hasn't moved anywhere in the last 14 or 30 days, depending on which one you have on. So that's where you can adjust that. And then these two buttons are the importer and exporter. So when you go to import your files, you will be using this importer, which opens up a module for you to drop a CSV file in to then import all your files. Now, the last thing I want to cover is simply just the mass actions. Whenever you select a file in the top left corner, there'll be a ton of different mass actions along the top. These are things that you can do to multiple files at once. So if you had many files in this column, you could select them all individually, or you can click one and click this select all button or deselect all, and you could basically make any of these actions occur for all those files selected. So whether that's marking all of them as complete, moving them to a different pipeline if you wanted to have separate pipelines, updating the type of file, whether it's like a purchase, refinance, switch, so on, marking them as expired, assigning new owners, assigning new advisors, assigning realtors, etc. So there's lots of mass actions up there, including pull from Velocity and pull from FINMO. If you want to do a mass pull where maybe they're all outdated, you want to select a bunch and just pull them all at once. So that is pretty much it for the pipeline itself. Keep in mind the last thing up here is all the different people on your team. So if you have multiple users, they'll all appear up here, and you can toggle between everyone to filter between each person's files. So if you want to only see your files, click on yourself and then select this star icon to set it as the default. That way, anytime you ever go back on this page, that's all you see. So I hope this clarifies how the pipeline works. And if you have any questions, feel free to book a call and we're happy to chat about it. And we'll be releasing future videos for any updates to the pipeline as well. Thanks a lot. Well, there you have it. Feel free to check out some of our other videos. And I do want to mention one thing. We appreciate your support more than you could ever imagine. We want to make this the absolute best piece of software for all mortgage brokers across Canada, and we wouldn't be able to do that without you and without your feedback. So if you have anything that you have an idea on, or you want to let us know, or you want to just have a chat about the direction of where this platform's going, feel free to reach out. We're happy to chat, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks a lot for watching, and check out some of the other tutorial videos.